Hi optometrists, this video is just for you. In this video, I'm going to explain how to approach a writing task, how to use your 5 minutes reading time effectively, how to demonstrate the 6 assessment criteria in your writing, how to use the sample answer provided, and how to learn from completed writing tasks. So, let's get started. The optometry writing test includes 3 possible types of letter: referral, discharge, and transfer. The reader of your letter could be to a few different healthcare professionals. For example, optometrist to optometrist, optometrist to specialist, optometrist to doctor, etc. Until you turn over the test booklet at the start of the reading time, you don't know which scenario it's going to be. The most important point is to be prepared to be flexible to meet any one of these letters and readers. Every patient is different. Their social background, their medical history, their current situation, these will all be different. Just like you wouldn't speak to each patient you meet during your working day using the same language and expressions, you need to be ready to use language and paragraph structure to make your letter personalised to this patient and this situation. Only then will you be demonstrating to the assessors that you have the English required to score a B grade or higher. Turning over the test booklet, there are 3 things you want to check as a priority. Although you cannot highlight or make any marks on your test booklet in the reading time, I'm going to highlight these 3 things so that you can clearly see what my eyes are looking at and can follow the approach yourself. The first 2 pieces of information are provided at the end of the case notes, so go straight there and check who are you writing to and what is their job role. In this example, we can see that we are writing to an ophthalmologist on duty at Parkview Eye and Ear Hospital. What are you writing to him or her about? Here, we can see that we are requesting urgent assessment and management for the patient. Back at the start of the case notes, you will find the 3rd piece of information, which is what is your role in the patient's care. We can see that you are an optometrist at a local clinic, and your patient has presented with trauma to her right eye. Before I start reading the case notes from the beginning, I want to make sure I have completely understood the reason for writing the letter. So another good place to check for any detail about this is the last information in the case notes. Checking here, I can see that I have applied a protective shield and advised the patient to limit physical activity. With this in mind, and remembering the specific reasons for writing this letter, to request urgent assessment and management for Ms. Clark, the patient, I can start reading through the case notes line by line, deciding whether each one is relevant to the reader or not. To help make the decision, I will ask myself 2 questions each time. Is this case note relevant to the current situation? And will this case note affect how the reader continues care for the patient? If the answer to both questions is no, I can omit this information. If the answer to either question is yes, I will include this information somewhere in the letter. This is an emergency situation, which means I know that historical detail is going to be irrelevant or far less important than anything concerning the current condition of the right eye. In the reading time, you have to make mental notes as you read for your understanding. I'm going to highlight the notes which I pick out to be relevant so you can see what I am choosing. The patient's name and date of birth are going to be important to include in the RE line. From the social background, basketball player stands out as being possibly relevant, so I skim down the other notes looking for other references to basketball, which I find in presenting problem, that the patient experienced a knock to their right eye during a basketball game. Her living arrangements, general health, family history and patient history all appear irrelevant, apart from the last detail which mentions that she wears prescription contact lenses. Then come details of today's appointment. I've already noted that the trauma occurred during a basketball game, but I can also pick up that the trauma occurred 1 day ago. All of the description details of the eye and the measures the patient has taken are important to my understanding of the situation. As well as my suspicion of the diagnosis being a corneal abrasion. From the test results, all those that show some changes to the right eye are important. And I can now understand that I will be able to use the more technical language rather than the subjective language used in the original description. I know that anything about the left eye is not going to be important other than as a comparison to the right eye. Finally, my diagnosis is obviously important to explain the reason for the emergency admission. Having reached the end of the case notes and talking myself through the situation, I now feel I have a good understanding of Miss Clark's history, but also how I'm going to structure my letter. If I still have time left out of the 5 minutes reading time, I would read through everything again carefully, reminding myself of the decisions I just made. Once the writing time starts, I would now underline those notes which I highlighted for you, so I have a clear record of the information I want to include in my letter. I would also turn to the blank page on the back of the answer booklet and make a very rough plan of my letter structure. In the introduction, I will highlight that this is an emergency request for Ms. Clark giving my diagnosis. In the middle paragraphs, I will give more details about the trauma, the measures the patient has already taken, and the relevant test result information. In the final paragraph, I will provide the recommendations I have made and repeat my request for urgent assessment. I'm now ready to start writing. I have a clear plan in my mind, and it should be easy to record all the information in the 35 minutes I will have left, and still keep some of this time to check my work at the end. I'm not going to write the whole letter now, but just to point out a few things. Opening my answer booklet, I'm going to start with the reader's name and the address, which I can copy directly from the writing task. Underneath this, I will add the date, which is today in the case note, 30th of August 2019. Next comes my greeting, Dear Ophthalmologist, followed by the RE line. But remember that the order of the greeting and the RE line can be reversed if you prefer. This RE line is Ms. Belinda Clark, DOB 0201 1994. Then will come the body of my letter, the paragraphs. The introduction, introducing the reason for writing, then the details of the trauma paragraph, the test result paragraph, and finally the recommendations paragraph. Underneath all of this, I will add my ending, Yours faithfully, because I only have the reader's job title, and finally my job title, Optometrist. As you write the paragraphs, think about how you will summarise the information. The aim is not to write one case note per sentence. Once you have finished writing, use any time you have left to check your letter against the case notes you underlined to make sure you have included everything you identified was relevant. Read it as the ophthalmologist. By the end of the letter, do you understand Ms. Clark's situation and what you need to do for her? If necessary, make edits to your letter if anything needs clarifying or adding. Now you have your completed letter, it's time to look at the sample answer. There are some important things to remember with sample letters for official OET tasks. They have been written and checked by both language experts and an optometry subject matter expert to make sure they are accurate medically and linguistically. That doesn't mean they are perfect or seen as the only way to write a letter about these case notes. You might have used slightly different language or structure to your letter. Provided you have communicated the situation as per the task clearly to the reader, this will not be a problem. When reading the sample answer afterwards, notice the similarities and differences. If there are any differences, rather than seeing it as something that has to be corrected in your letter, think about why it is different. Why do you think the writer used this word or phrase? Is it more formal? Does it allow them to summarize some detail more effectively? Why do you think they structured their letter like this? Is there any difference in clarity between your version and their version? I want to finish off by giving you a few tips about how you can get the most out of this set of case notes after you've written the letter. Don't just discard this task and letter and move straight on to another task. Take time after each practice letter to learn from it and avoid making the same mistakes next time. Here are 5 things you can do to get the most value out of each practice task you complete. Assess your writing and the sample answer against the assessment criteria. The criteria are free to download from the OET website and contain both a description of the 6 criteria you are assessed on, as well as the evidence of what the assessors are looking for to be able to score you at the different levels. Take each criterion in turn, read the evidence statement for each level, and critically decide which statement is the best match for your writing. Type your letter into a document and check your language and grammar by using free tools such as Grammarly or spell checker grammar functions built into your word processing software. Notice the mistakes that are picked up and use them to create your own checklist of common errors to learn from. Rewrite your letter so you have a perfect copy to refer to as you revise. If you keep looking at your original letter with the mistakes in it, you are training your brain to remember the mistakes. Having a perfect copy to revise from will help improve the accuracy of your writing. Use the case notes as the basis for a speaking role play. Imagine you are having a conversation with Ms. Clark in August. Ask a friend or colleague to play Ms. Clark's role while you ask her about how she sustained her injury and provide your diagnosis and recommendations. Search the internet for podcasts on sports trauma to the eye, or medical journal articles covering recent developments in the treatment of the condition to practice your skills for the reading and listening parts of the test. Remember, with the right approach, the writing test is something everyone can do well. For more videos and test strategies, follow our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram @OfficialOET, and search the OET blog available on our website.